Hello and welcome everybody to today's edition of Mexico News Network's Breaking News Business. I'm your host, Elliot Bullman. Remember to follow us on all our social networks and to catch us every day by logging on to our website mexiconewsnetwork.com for relevant stories and news. Let's start with today's show. PROFEPA, Mexico's environmental regulator, will fine Renault 17.14 million pesos after concluding that it didn't get 11 environmental certificates as it should have done before importing and marketing its cars in Mexico. Last month, PROFEPA fined BMW vehicle company 1.85 million pesos for the sale of motorcycles that failed to provide the NOM environmental compliance certification. This fine is already the second for BMW, after having been sanctioned with a fine of 1.5 million pesos. The automaker Renault imported nearly 12,000 vehicles without the NOM certificate of environmental compliance, while BMW imported and sold 816 motorcycles without meeting the required environmental compliance regulations. The NOM environmental certificate accredits compliance with the maximum permissible limits for the emission of total hydrocarbons, carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, and particulate matter from the exhaust of new motor vehicles which use gasoline, liquefied petroleum gas, natural gas, and diesel. In other news, speaking on Saturday at the Business Forum, Germany and Mexico, partners on the road to industry and dual training, along with President Enrique Peña Nieto, German Chancellor Angela Merkel invited Mexico to join global digital production in order to catapult its development. At the event, Merkel stated, "Those of us who know and appreciate digital production have to ensure that we're not just a workshop to produce what other large internet companies have ordered, so that much of the value creation shall remain in industrial production, thus generating better qualified jobs for Mexico." She emphasized that the value chain has become internationalized, creating prosperity for many more people. So she stressed that these chains of value creation should not be destroyed again without necessity. She then declared that both President Peña Nieto and herself are in favor of a system based on the rules for free international trade. With this in mind, she also explained that sometimes transitional solutions are needed because economies continue to develop. She put the NAFTA and the free trade agreement with the European Union as an example, which have become somewhat obsolete. But the important thing is that these multilateral agreements create an equal playing field for all to be interconnected. Merkel also stressed that there are already 1,900 German companies operating in Mexico, which have created 150,000 high-quality jobs with well-qualified workers in Mexico. Conversely, according to data from the German Federal Bank, Mexico is the leading Latin American country for foreign direct investment into Germany. Between 2000 and 2015, Mexico had invested over $1.5 billion there. In other headlines, despite the creation of the Ventanilla Única Quintana Roo, which is a public organism dedicated to simplifying procedures and services with the purpose of speeding timeframes for the creation of micro, small, and medium-sized businesses, this state still is the toughest in Mexico to make business due to the extensive paperwork, licenses, and requirements needed for operation. The Mexican Institute for Competitiveness, IMCO for its name in Spanish, ranks the state of Quintana Roo as last on this index, according to Adrián López Sánchez, president of Copamex, the Mexican Employers Association in Cancun. There are companies that can take up to 2 years to complete a process, such as real estate. However, this is not exclusive to large businesses. In fact, it's small sellers who are most affected. Every day that passes has financial costs. Imagine a company that can't start operations because it doesn't have a permit, and sometimes that takes up to 2 years, in which you have to pay interest to investors, partners, or banks without even selling. And that's where we become inefficient, explained López Sánchez. And this without even mentioning that all licenses and permits granted by both municipal and state governments must be renewed annually, facing once again double processes. For this reason, Coparmex will meet with the Federal Commission for Regulatory Improvement to address the subject on the law of regulatory improvement and to follow up once it's been discussed and approved. And finally, let's take a look at the markets. The Mexican peso decreased 0.14% to 18.1 from 18.13 in the previous trading session. IPC Mexico traded at 49,130 on Monday, June the 12th. Historically, the Mexico stock market IPC index reached an all-time high of 49,939.47 in May of 2017 and a record low of 14,008.2 in August of 2005. This was all for today. Thank you for staying with us. I'm your host, Elliot Bullman. Remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, and log on to MexicoNewsNetwork.com for more information on Mexico and the world. Until next time.